that we was used to in the 90s or whatever, early 2000s. And when you putting this information out on the web about everything Egyptian is satanic worship, Horus is evil, Kanye West wore the Horus chain, BT Awards. The next day, all the bloggers, every website, oh, Kanye West is a devil worshiper. And anytime anybody sees Baphomet, I know everybody knows who Baphomet is. You've seen it. Bobby's going to go into it. But anytime anybody comes by my table and see the Baphomet, if they're not on that real occultic level, oh, man, brother, that's the devil. That's evil. Oh, man, Abraham Lincoln posed just like Baphomet. Oh, man, so what I'm seeing is that the conspiracy has gone mainstream. Everybody sees that by now. Conspiracy theorists was once an underground phenomenon, just strictly underground. That's mainstream now. You could go, Alex Jones is everywhere on the internet. These white boys, all this conspiracy stuff is everywhere. But because it's mainstream, and one of the most famous documentaries in the underground, Zeitgeist, everybody loves Zeitgeist. But the one thing I always said about Zeitgeist is that in the beginning of Zeitgeist, the first thing they say is the Egyptian gods was pagan. Egyptians were pagan. They didn't believe in spirituality and this and that. So there's a lot of confusion about our ancient spiritual systems, and we just worship nature, and we worship the tree, and we worship a dog, and this and that and that and this. So the perfect man to call when this happens is Bobby Hemmitt. So we're going to get Bobby to clear up the illness tonight. So the first question I want to ask Brother Bobby is about Baphomet. What is the science? Because this seems to baffle everybody. Everybody thinks this Baphomet deity, the symbol with the gold and this and that. What is the science behind Baphomet, Bobby? Okay. Why is it not evil?
Well, first of all, isn't it interesting that the Bible has no real imagery of what the devil is? You can't go in the Bible and see any imagery, or they don't have any scripture saying that the devil, you see what I'm saying, is this description, you see. And that's very interesting here. Now, the Baphomet is only a couple of 100 years old, or maybe somewhere. We don't even get the concept of the Baphomet until the Moors, and we're going to give you the documentation on that. So we're talking about the 8th century A.D. on up. Now, all your scriptures, even your latest scriptures, even Islam, which was one of the latest, one of the last ones to be formulated, was already in place before you even get the concept of the Baphomet. So how could that be the devil of the Bible? So I'm going ahead of myself. The inception of that is only the last 800 years. And it has absolutely positively nothing to do with the devil, because even in the concept of Satan, that's concept of Satan, there is no description of Satan, you see what I'm saying, in either the Hebrew aspect of things, whether it's the Torah, or whether it's the Talmud, whether it's the several books of the Bible. There is no concept of this at all. So what I want to do is in order for us to understand this, we need to get a general history. We have to take you back into history to clear up all this stuff on how just about anything but the Christians or the Judeo-Christian paradigm is evil. So they say, well, what is evil? Well, they say anything that didn't make it into the Christian canon. So we have to go into history. It's like one guy told me one time, well, it is known that the Buddhists worship Satan. I said, oh, boy. I said, that is magnificent. Can you explain to me how the Buddhists worship Satan? And the guy said, he went deaf and silent. I said, you don't even know what Buddhism is, do you? He said, no. I said, you are quoting something that somebody gave you. So most of the stuff that we call evil is more political than it is evil itself. I hate to bust your bubble, but the Satan that they're talking about that's got everybody so scared doesn't exist. It never did, at least not on the level on what you think it is, or some man under the ground with a pitchfork. So in order for you to understand this, I must go into a brief history of how this whole thing started and how even the ancient Egyptians was dubbed evil based on a political thing. Now, just remember that one man's devil is another man's God. Just remember that. So in order for us to start, we need to go back to the beginning. We want to go back to what is called Typhonian Egypt. This is pre-dynastic Egypt. The Typhonian period, or pre-dynastic period, existed, matured, and declined even before the first monumental phase of Egypt. And the first monumental phase of Egypt is 3,000 years ago. So the Typhonian, or what we call Typhonian, Ophidian, Draconian, these different names of the Kushite Empire, because the Egyptians said that we come from the south, when from the foothills of the mountain of the moon where the god Hapi dwells. Hapi is the Nile. Hapi is also Osiris in a later form. But to deal with this, you had what is called your pre-dynastic period. Now, your pre-dynastic period was about 8,000 years before your dynastic period, which lasted about 3,000 years. So in all, we talk about 10 to 11,000 years. Now, your pre-dynastic period declined, and you had your dynastic period. So your pre-dynastic period was your Typhonian era, which worshiped a god named Set, his mother Typhon, his another name for her is Tyret, or Tawaret, or even Apep, the great dragon. Now, this lasted for 8,000 years, rough. We're just giving you some things. It could be more than that, and more than likely it is, but we have to give people a time frame. And then the new Ammonites came into place, so we want to give you some documentation. And we'll give you several books you can get on these particular things, like Jeremiah's Book of the Beginning, Volume 1. Jeremiah's Book of the Beginning, Volume 1, 1881. Jeremiah's Natural Genesis, 1888, and culminating in his last and final book, Jeremiah's Ancient Egypt, Light of the World. Ancient Egypt, Light of the World, which was 1907. We just celebrated the 100-year anniversary. That was his last book came out, and that was also the year that he died. So giving you some documentation, we're going to give you several other documentation as we go along. But to speed this thing up, because we only have a short period of time, the dynastic period, once the dynastic period started, and they started worshiping Amun-Ra, Osiris, and all of this, what happened was they degraded or villainized the god that preceded it. So let me give you an example on how this whole thing goes down, even down to Christianity. These particular new group of Egyptians came in, later day generation of the same race and same system. They came in, and the first thing they would say is, this is the new system of philosophy. It's old philosophy, they just rename it. And so the people will go and say, well, hey, wait a minute. We already have a system of philosophy. It's the Typhonian philosophy. So why should I convert to the new system when we already got a system? Good old religion is good enough for me. So as a result, in order to get new people, the new people, to get people to go into the new aspect, what you have to do is a common thing. You have to name the god that preceded it, the devil. So in order for me to get you to follow my thing, I have to demonize or villainize the god before. Otherwise, you won't get these new converts. So in so many words, with all fairness, we started this. It started as early as ancient Egypt. And so goes to, to keep going, by the time you got a group of Egyptians called the Akhenaten's crew, and later on called the Hebrew, that leaves Egypt. Was never no slavery in Egypt. This is just a group of another priesthood that came up out of that. That came up out of that. There's also a great chapter in Book of Beginnings, African Origins of Hebrews as Traced from the Monuments. So those particular ones leaving, in order to get the people to go into the new religion, they got to villainize, or vilify, or demonize the ancient Egyptians. So to give you a streamline on how these things go, in order for a new group of people, the Christianity that comes out of Hebrew, out of the Hebrew aspect of that, or the Judeo aspect of that, in order for this new religion to strive, to thrive, they have to villainize the Hebrews. That's why they see you get Christians say you shouldn't listen to the Old Testament. Well, wait a minute, hold on. Isn't the first 5 books of your Bible Old Testament? That's like an oxymoron. I have a book. You shouldn't go by the Old Testament, but the first 5 books of your book is the Old Testament. You see what I'm saying? So they villainize the Old Testament. And so in this particular case, by the time the Islamic comes, they villainize the Christians by saying that, well, they had a religion, and the Hebrews and them had a religion, but their religion became corrupt. But nevertheless, the first 5 books of the Quran is the same Torah. So my point here is, what we're talking about here is a political thing on how these so-called devils come into view. Usually, one man's God is another man's devil. And in the ancient world, in order for the newer religion to strive, they had to villainize the actual deities that preceded it. But the actual deities that preceded it is the same deities that they end up worshiping in the first place. You see what I'm saying? You got Akhenaten comes into Egypt. He gets rid of Amen. And he puts up Atan, or Aten. Take the word Amen, take the M out of Amen and put a T in it, you got it, baby. Still the same God. Still the sun deity. You see what I'm saying? So these are ways these things start to happen. I'm leading up to the bottom of it, but I have to give you a sense of a simulation of history, some of you particular people, to understand how these things occur. How do we get these things that we call evil, which is nothing but the gods of yesterday? So in so many words, what they say here is this. Every time you have a later generation that rises up, and they don't understand the ancient science of the earlier generation, the part that they don't understand, they sweep it in a pile and call it evil. You see, we do it now in science. We got DNA, and they study the DNA. So the part of the melanin that the people don't understand, they call it junk DNA. To give you a scenario on how this thing becomes. So what happened was, the first thing they do is they name Set, the original pre-dynastic god, the evil god, put him in the mythology. But we notice something here. We have a great pantheon, and the people don't know what pantheon, that's just a great list of the gods, or a panel of the deities. And it's interesting, if Set was evil, why when you always see the Egyptians showing their pantheon of gods, Set is always included among them? Or whenever you see the Egyptian pharaohs and you see this particular picture, you will see them standing between Horus, which is the precursor to Jesus. Horus is Jesus. And then you will see them standing between Set, which is supposed to be the devil. So what happened here is we made the observation. Why is it that the pharaohs, if Set is supposed to be evil, why is the Pharaohs always standing between Horus, which is supposed to be good, and Set, which is supposed to be evil? You see what I'm saying? Or did the ancient people even view evil in the way that we think things are now? You see what I'm saying? Or were they talking about different aspects of polarities? Polarities. You see, yin and yang, dark, light. You see what I'm saying? Shadow, light. It's not talking about evil as in wicked, as it is talking about different types of formulas and different types of energies. So it would be no different than Set, that you would is bleach, and Horus is water. And so 2,000 years go by, and you will see water. You recognize what that is. But then you will see a symbol on the bleach bottle that have a skull and crossbones. But you have lost the symbol of the bleach bottle. You don't know what that is, so you say that bleach must be evil. And this water must be good. So this is what we're talking about. They were much more advanced and scientific, and what we were talking about was formulas. You see, other than the good and evil as we're talking about. Now, this is interesting here, because you got a god in Egypt called Khnum. And Khnum shows up with the horns, okay? Shows up with the horns. But Khnum is also supposed to be a god that created man. Let's go on. In Egypt, you got the god Bes. He's a funny-looking figure, a little short, pygmy or twa-looking figure with a monster face. And later on, the god Bes becomes the goat god Pan. Now we're getting somewhere, because the goat god Pan is the precursor to the devil. So in so many words, years later, the Christians that didn't have anything in their scriptures to depict Satan, because the scriptures they had was borrowed from, they came out of Egypt, they went to Greece, they went to Rome, and Rome turned them into several books of the Bible, and several books of the Bible, and they had 8 conferences to whittle it down to the Bible that you have now, and last thing is the King James Version. So, but in the legend of that, they didn't have any kind of formula or any kind of image for the devil. So what they did is they went back in time, and they chose the Greek version of the goat god Pan, which would be the Egyptian version of this, Khnum, and also Set. Depends on what system you're coming from. But the goat god Pan, which is also a later form of Dionysus, and Dionysus is the god of the wine, the vine, just as you see in that Jesus is. So this goat god Pan that they choose ends up becoming the image of the devil. But I don't even believe that the high priest, we know that the high priest at that particular time, when they chose the goat god Pan, they were not talking about a devil. This is later. This is some stuff that is blown up in the past 500 years, but has nothing to do with what was actually going on. Even the people who wrote the Bible understood that these things have also a lot to do with astronomy, alchemy, and astrology. So the goat god Pan is none other than Capricorn. Capricorn is Pan. The goat god Pan, which would later on be drawn into in the mid 1800s, would be drawn into the Baphomet, the famous picture that you got of the Baphomet that everybody's scared of, drawn by Alypius Levi in the 1800s. But let me go on, because we'll go into this particular Baphomet thing in a minute. But I just want to give you an aspect of what's going on. So they needed an image of the actual of an actual devil that they didn't have. So as a result, the later day Christians who didn't understand what the earlier Christians was doing labeled it the devil, but the earlier Christians was talking about Capricorn. I want to ask you a question. When is Jesus, since most people identify with that, when is Jesus born out of? What astrological sign is Jesus born out of? Capricorn, which is talking about the winter solstice. December 25th is also the birthday of Mithra, also the birthday of Horus. You see what I'm saying? Mithra was born in a cave. It's talking about the deepest, darkest part of the year, which is the womb. But Capricorn, there's a book you can get called Capricorn is ruled by what? Saturn. Saturn, there's a book you can get called Saturn, the new look at the old devil. Now, what is Saturn? Saturn is called the black planet. It is also called the planet of chastisement, which means your Saturn planet and the Saturn energy is a rough and a chastising energy to whip you in shape. So we're talking about energies now. So when we have Saturn, Saturn is a powerful planet, but it is a no-nonsense planet. It is a no-nonsense planet. So some of your Saturn deities later on, isn't it interesting that Osiris, who is supposed to be the enemy of Set, isn't it interesting that Osiris is called God of the Perfect Black? He's also called Osiraniphus in a later thing, and then he's also called Sabbath. Sabbath is the day of rest, and the true Sabbath is where? It's Saturday. Saturday, and later on we have what is called the Sabbatic goat. What is the Sabbatic goat? Why is the goat Sabbath? Because the Sabbath is on a Saturday, but Saturday is also called Set. That's ruled by Saturn, the chastiser. So you have the Sabbatic goat, which is the goat god Pan, which is also a form of Osiris, a form of Dionysus, and a form of Jesus, since Jesus is born out of Capricorn. So the people out here that is afraid of this goat-looking thing that will later on become the Baphomet is afraid of an astrological sign. You see? So you got the ancient scientists that's talking about astrology, and then you got people later on that come and they don't know the astrological aspect, or they've been taught that the Bible has nothing to do with astrology, which the Bible is a book of astrology. You see what I'm saying? A book of astrology, the whole book on astrological. I think it's there's a book on the Bible and astrology came out 2 years ago. So what is it? So what is this astrological sign, Capricorn, and why is it so feared? Capricorn only means a certain time when it's a period when you get things in order. Where do you think the origin of the New Year's resolution come from? Well, it's a time, it's the New Year's, and I need to get things in order. And if I can get things in order, I can realign myself to the time when spring comes in so I can reap the abundance. So what we're talking about here is an ancient astrological sign that the goat, that's why the goat becomes what is called the scapegoat. Do you know the original origin of the word scapegoat means that they were going to blame all things evil on the goat? So the original origin of the scapegoat, you see, but it's an astrological sign, and that's what the book Saturn, the new look at the old devil, is talking about. So here we are in the modern versions because we have been taught things as a child to fear the devil, and then they'll show a later day version of what they will see the devil, which was actually an astrological sign of Capricorn, and then years later, the people get this all discombobulated, and all of a sudden now we are fearing an astrological sign, which is the astrological sign is called the black planet, and the black is also talking about carbon, 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, which is carbon, which is the basis for melanin and the basis for black holes, dark matter, dark substance, and the fabric of the universe. So we're talking about formulas here.
Bobby, so you're saying you just broke down the Baphomet, brother. So now you're saying that people shouldn't be scared of the 666. That's what you're saying.
That's right. 666. Okay, 666. Let me give you two versions of it. 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, which is carbon. That's also documented in the book Pyramids of Montauk by Peter Moon. Peter Moon and Preston Nichols. Pyramids of Montauk. Peter Moon and Preston Nichols, I think 1995, I think it came out. The other one is the word Satan can be also traced back to 666, which is also talking about Titan. And Titan, 666, is another ancient name for Titan. The Titans were an ancient group of people that was overthrown in the cosmos because they were of, and one of the Titans of the cosmos was also called Kronos. Kronos was overthrown, and his children basically rose up and overthrew the Titans, burnt the Titans up, and turned the Titans into humans.
So who are the Olympians in cosmos?
These are the Olympian deities, Zeus. It would also be Yahweh. It would also be Amen.
Wow.
Amen Ra. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. Bobby, a lot of people don't know about that entity, Heru Set. Have Set,
yes.
Well, Set coming from the back of Heru.
We'll get into that. I have it on my list. I have it in my list. Let's deal with this. We're going to get into that because we got to deal with the Horus thing. So now check it out. They were overthrown. They overthrew the Titan called Kronos. Kronos is also called Time, Father Time, and later on, Father Time is Saturn. It's called Saturn Kronos. Here goes again. These are these origins of the devil. These are these origins of the devil. Saturn Kronos, you see, was overthrown. You see, so what we have here is these ancient powers. So if it was a black planet that was overthrown, and so the Titans were burnt up, and their ashes was used to make humans. 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, which is carbon, which is the basis of melanin. So when you go into church and praying against Satan, you're praying against your own melanin, your own dark self, called the dark night of the soul, or the shadow, or the shadow. You see what I'm saying? Now, if the Titans were overthrown and their blood was turned into man, you know, remember Satan was overthrown from heaven, and he was bound for 1,000 years. Well, how do you bind a God? You put a God in a human body, and that's how you bind a God. Ooh. Do you know that the word devil, which means double, or diabos, or doppelganger, which means your double self, the word devil means man in the physical. So in so many words, these were different locations of energies that later on became demonized. You see, over the years, and they had nothing to do with evil as we think. The only evil that exists in the universe right now is your own ego. That is the evil. You create this world around you, and the evil that exists that you are so afraid of is your own ego. Is your own ego, but has nothing to do with some man, some cosmic force out there that's evil.
Well, let me ask you this then, Bobby.
Yes.
You say the most evil force in the universe is your ego.
Yes.
Now,
which is left.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the questions I have for you, if that's the case, some of the most profound speakers, scholars that I have met, that I have seen, are egotistical.
No. Let me explain when we talk about ego. Try to understand this. The ego we're talking about is not the egotistical thing that you know of. That's just a guide down here that happens based on fear. The ego that we're talking about here is the false self. We must make this distinction. You have a spiritual self that came down here. Then you have a false self that came into existence that supposed itself to be real, but it's really not real at all. And it took the place of the real you that's asleep inside of your body. That's your soul. So most of the people here, most of the people down here, most of the people are asleep. But what is running ourselves as we sleep is our ego self, our false self. So now, but the ego that we're talking about as far as expressed based on human function, that's a different form of the ego. But one of the ways you get back to getting rid of that false self is humility. But so there's a difference in the ego, with a person being egotistical, and the ego that I'm talking about is just your general life itself. That you suspect that you are the person you are, but in other words, you are a greater person than what you suspect. Because why? Because when you die, what happens to that particular person that you thought you were? It goes, you see what I'm saying? It dissolves or bounces around as thought forms or ghosts, but mainly your soul goes on to have other experiences. So that's the ego that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the ego as far as how we function based on traits of who we think we are. I'm talking about something entirely different.
So, Bobby,
Yes.
what about when people say the ego is also an entity? Like some people also classify it with the demiurge. Well, what do you have to?
That would also be the ego. That would be the false self. But this particular ego that we're talking about, that's the false self, actually thinks it's human, and its expression could be egotistical. But we're talking about just that's a whole other paradigm that we get into. We'll have to come back on that. But the evil. But my point here is this: we create the negativity and the evil from out of us, and we use concepts of the devil, Lucifer, and the dark ones as scapegoats for our own activities of evil that's innate in us, based on a fall from who we really are. You understand where I'm coming from here? So
right.
these particular, there was a movie called Revolver that came out with Andre 2000 was in it, Ray Liotta, Jason Statham, and in that particular movie, at the end, they was finding out that everything that was going on in the movie that people was thinking was actually evil was being created from their own mind. And that's the evil that we're talking about. You see what I'm saying? And some of the things that they put in those ancient texts were talking about your own mind. Talking about your own mind. That's the only evil there is. But the point I'm trying to say, there's no man sitting somewhere with a pitchfork or the goat symbol of Capricorn. That's evil. You see what I'm saying? It used to be an astrological sign or astronomical sign, and then all of a sudden it becomes evil. And all because the later generation didn't know. The later generation didn't know what it was. So you got Osiranophus, you got Sabbath. Sabbath is another god that used to be Saturn, came out of Egypt. Then you got the Sabbath, which is the day of rest in Hebrew. So I thought that Saturn is evil and all. Then you have Saturn. Then you have Baron Samedi later on. These are just Saturn deities that beat people into shape. That beat people into shape. Then you have Osiris, god of the perfect black, is also called Uza, the chief demon of the Jews. Because Osiris is a Greek name. The Egyptian name is Osar. So Osar is also pronounced Uza by the Hebrews. So here it is again. Here's the Hebrews taking one of the chief gods of the Egyptian pantheon later on and making him evil. Making him evil. So the word Titan, Teton, is later on the Titan, Teton, Satan, which comes from the word Set, Egyptian, and On, Anubis, which means black opening, black hole, doorway. And remember now, Anubis is the person that guides you to the heaven realm. So here goes again. Here is ancient people's science to explain who they are, with later day people coming in and turning their particular gods into evil. You see what I'm saying? Now, in the Kabbalah, the Kabbalistic breakdown, 666 is a name and a word, is a name and an energy for Jesus. That's right. 666 is also a number that adds up to Jesus. Now, who is Jesus? Jesus is none other than Horus. So, whenever Kanye West was wearing Horus, he was wearing Jesus. You see what I'm saying? He was wearing Jesus. Now, let me break this down. To demystify this. All you got to do, the greatest work ever, and the Christian world say, we must make him persona non grata, because if anybody get this book from 1907 in their household, Jesus or Christianity can't exist, because we know that Christianity came straight up out of Egypt. So you want to get the African origins of historical origins of Christianity by Walter Williams. You want to get the pagan origins of the Christ myth. I'll get the name of that in a minute. Also, you want to get Christianity, the pagan origins of the Christ myth by John G. Jackson. You want to get Christianity Before Christ by John G. Jackson. You want to get other books that's going to give you that is you want to get also Echoes from the Old Dark Land, Dr. Charles Finch, a whole chapter in there on the Hebrew origins, the Egyptian origins of Judeo-Christian or Hebrew lore. So basically the devil and is nothing but the gods of yesteryear. Now, but one of the key books was Ancient Egypt, Light of the World. Ancient Egypt, Light of the World, Volume 2 of that particular book, 1907, gives you the complete breakdown, because he's one of the greatest Egyptologists that ever lived, and he was the one that identified Jesus was none other than a retelling of the ancient Egyptian god Horus or Heru. Heru means light. Jesus means light. But before I go into that, I want to say a few other things about this. In the Bible, in Genesis, Lucifer falls like the morning star. Lucifer just means light bringer. By the time you get to Revelation, Jesus say, I am the morning star. Now, Saturn is also called Sat, which is also called Set. One of Set's images is the donkey, the ass. Jesus rides into Jerusalem riding an ass. So what does this mean? Jesus and the ass is one and the same, just like Horus and Set, which is called the black god, white god, or you want to say the black god, light god, is one and the same. These are two polarities of the same deity, like you would have yin and yang. Like you would have yin and yang. Let me give you a few pointers on this. On this. But Jesus rides into Jerusalem on an ass. So what does that mean? The ass is Saturn, the donkey. So how does Jesus, or how does Horus get connected with the ass or the donkey? The ass just means his primordial, black carbon self. He has to master that. When he masters the primal forces, which is the primal forces is down in your root chakras. When you master the primal forces of chaos, and you master those forces, you become a master of it. And that is your power. So when Jesus rides into Jerusalem on a donkey or an ass, it means he has mastered the primal Saturn, Sirius forces, the star Sirius being the chief star of that. Because Set, the original god, was also called Sirius. But Sirius is also in the Quran. It said, this is the God who created both male and female from one single ejaculated semen. He is the Lord of Sirius in the Surah of the Star in your Quran. And the Lord of Sirius, if you was in pre-dynastic Egypt, well, if you was in dynastic Egypt, the Lord of Sirius was called Osiris or Osar. If you was in pre-dynastic Sirius, Egypt, Set was the lord of Sirius, and Set is the precursor to the devil. So Allah is the devil. If you understand these cosmic forces, you see what I'm saying? Al, which means sun, Le, which means feminine. The dark feminine half of that is called Layla. You see, we're talking about polarities. Allah has 99 attributes. You see what I'm saying? So what happens here is, by the time the Christians come along and the Hebrews, they say, well, the Egyptians worshiped many gods and they were evil. But by the time, so what they had to do, they couldn't have a functioning system not unless they understood that those multiple gods is formulas. So they said, well, what we'll do, we can't get rid of the many gods thing because the many gods is how God exists. So what we'll do is we'll change the netters, the multiple deities of ancient Egypt, we'll change them into the archangels and the guardian angels. Meanwhile, in Islam, and that stood for both Christianity and Islam, Christianity and Judaism. Islam comes along and say, well, we can't get rid of the multiple gods, so we'll just say the 99 attributes of Allah. You see, so while they're denigrating some people, they worship many gods and they were evil and all this, you see what I'm saying? They just hid theirs under different terminologies like archangels, guardian angels, 99 attributes of Allah. You see, Allah. So now, a few other things. The angel, Job wrestled with the devil all night, and by the time day broke, that this particular devil or this particular angel was called Pineal, which was the face of God, which was called pineal. So Lucifer, the light bringer, is the pineal gland, which is the eye of Horus, which is the eye of Heru. You see what I'm saying? Which is the light of Jesus. Which is the light of Jesus. You see what I'm saying? So the face of God was called pineal. Horus Set, the black god, white god, which is also the yin and yang. It's also in your Bible. Jesus, in his adversary, becomes Leviathan. Come to find out, it's in Carl Jung's books. Alchemy, in Carl Jung's books, they even broke that down, alchemical studies, that Jesus and Leviathan is one and the same. Leviathan is the big fish. Jesus is the great fisherman who fishes the souls out of the sea. So his adversary is Leviathan, which is the part of him that he has to go through, the dark Saturn part of him that he has to go through to bring about the freeing of the souls of the freeing of his own soul. So here go again. We're taking these ancient cosmic principles and terminology and turning them into fairy tales for fear in later times. So Jesus and Leviathan is the same. Is also the same. Jesus is born in Capricorn. Give you a few other things right here. I want to get this one thing. What time are we looking at? Hello? Hello? Oh, shit. Hello?
Yeah, you still here, Bobby. I hear you.
You hear me? You been hearing me the whole time?
Yeah, I was hearing you.
Okay.
Yeah, I was hearing you.
Okay, what time, boy? I was just talking about Leviathan?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the devil just means man in the physical. Man created from the blood of the Titans. Okay. So evil in a short term becomes a thing when the younger generations don't understand the principles of the older generations, and that they don't understand, they start calling evil. Even the word hell comes from the word Hayel, which is the earth.
Yeah, hello? Hello?
Yeah, Rich.
Oh, yeah, I got disconnected. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bobby. Go ahead.
Yes. You been hearing me the whole time?
Yeah. Okay. When you ask for me, that's when I pressed the button by accident on my cell phone.
Okay, yeah, okay. So, like I said again, I'm going to go back a few minutes. So, what we're talking about here, the devil just means a location of the God in the physical body. Man is created from the blood of the Titans. 666 is the numerical breakdown of the Titans. In Kabbalah, 666 is the numerical breakdown of Jesus. Evil becomes in order when the younger generations didn't understand what the science of the older generations were. After centuries and millennia, what they do, what they don't understand, they just lump in and say, well, that's just evil. The word hell comes from the word hayel, and the word hayel means earth. We live in hell. Hell is also the serpent in the Garden of Eden, which is none other than the Kundalini energy on the inside of us. Hell is actually the root chakra. That's why it's red. So when we get these locations of the burning hell, they are talking about the chakras in our physical bodies. Now, if you got people out here who don't understand this stuff, you just need to do more studying. You see what I'm saying? The chakras, the root chakra is the lowest chakra. That's where the hell chakra is. And that's where the fire in our chakra system comes up. They say our God is an all-consuming fire, which means kundalini, or kundalini fire, which means a kundalini fire. So we got several. So this end this right up, and so we do, because I want to go into the history of the Baphomet in a few seconds. How much time we got on this one?
We got about 57 minutes left before we go into question and answer.
Okay, good. So let me just go ahead and deal with this. In the Persian area, and where you got Persia, all that was the Kushite Empire that reached all the way up into India. The word, we got a word called Bishaitan, which means the god Shiva, which is another form of the Christ. We got Melektoth, which is in Iraq, later on called the devil. It's also called the devil. The serpent. The word serpent, I want to get this to you right here. To show you that we're talking about science. Because I want to go into this Baphomet thing in a few seconds and tell you where the Baphomet comes from. Because it's only a couple of hundred years old. But I want to show you this right here. Okay, now. The Gnostics were the Egyptians. The Gnostics are the fathers of Christianity. And they talk about a view of the Eden myth. They would hold that the Nicene teaches that the serpent, the Hebrew Netchesh, in the Garden of Eden, is the anointed one, the Hebrew Messiah. The Christos are one and the same. So the serpent in the Garden of Eden and the Hebrew word Christos is one and the same. They can be broken down Kabbalistically. Neshesh, which is the serpent in the Garden of Eden, and Mashiach is also the numerical value of 358. So Messiah and serpent is the same. Now it's interesting here because even in your Bible they say Moses lifted up the serpent, which is the Kundalini energy in us, in the wilderness, and you should pick up serpents as a testimony to your faith. Well, wait a minute, I thought the serpent was evil. Well, how is it that the serpent ends up being the same numerical value in Kabbalah as the same numerical value in Kabbalah as Mashiach or Messiah, and then later on Moses said you must pick up serpents as a testimony of your faith. He lifts up serpents in the wilderness. The wilderness represents the physical body. Lifting up the serpent means the Kundalini energy. Moses is nothing but a later form of the god Tahuti, and you have the staff of Tahuti, which is the Kundalini energy. What we are still talking about here is spiritual science and spiritual metaphors that's later on, or science that's later on turned into evil by people who couldn't understand it. So now, this is the part where we go into this for one thing, but I want to read a few things for you in Jeremiah. Horus Heru, the Lord by name as the child. Jesus, the Christ Jesus, the Lord name of the gospel of infancy. Isis, the virgin mother, Ayu and her shoe are son. Jesus, the virgin, Mary, the mother virgin, or the virgin mother of Jesus. The first Horus child of the virgin, the second son of Ra. Jesus, the virgin child, and the Christ, and the son of the Father. The first Horus and the founder of the second fulfiller for the Father. Jesus, the founder, and the Christ, and the fulfiller of the Father. The two mothers of the Christ, Horus, Isis, and Nephthys, who were the two sisters. The two mothers, and the Jesus and the child Jesus, who were sisters. So this thing goes on and on. Isis taken by Horus in adultery. A woman taken in adultery. In adultery with Set. So this stuff goes on and on. Seb, the foster father of Horus. Joseph, the foster father of Jesus. And it goes on and on and on the parallels of Horus and Jesus. And if you go to India, Krishna has the same parallels. Sut and Horus, the two opposers. Satan and Jesus, the two opponents. The two opponents. Osiris, whom Horus loved. Lazarus, which is another word for Lazarus, who Jesus loved, because Lazarus is Osiris. Osiris, perfume for his burial. Jesus anointed with odors filled the house. And this stuff goes on and on and on. Horus, the good shepherd with the crook and the crook in his shoulder. Jesus, the good shepherd with the lamb kid on his shoulder. This stuff goes on and on in the appendix of Ancient Egypt, Light of the World by Gerald Massey. There's volume 1 and volume 2, but if you go in the appendix, it's 5 pages or more, maybe 10 pages on the parallels between Jesus and Horus. So I heard some white boy came on there, was challenging some of these new people, was challenging them and told them to prove that Jesus and Horus was the same, and none of them niggas couldn't say nothing because they don't study. I could have told them, look, get that white boy the scholarship. Give him Jeremiah's Light of the World, volume 2, and he will see the parallels between the two. Now, let me go into this Baphomet thing. The where that comes from. Y'all all right?
Yeah, we good, bro. Yeah, we good. You hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, we good and funny. We hear you.
Okay, let me go on this. The people just going to have to rewind this and play it over and over. You see what I'm saying? But let me go into this Baphomet thing for you so that you'll understand. The Baphomet, and this is interesting. You need to get a book called The Sufis by Idris Shah. That's Idris Shah. The Sufis by Idris Shah. Let me spell that again. Idris. Last name is Shas. Idris Shah. Introduction by Robert Graves. This is a groundbreaking, monumental book that appeared on the scene in 1964. Now, they celebrated Robert Graves. He is the author of Greek Myths and the White Goddess. He is no slouch. This particular person is considered an authority in scholarship when it comes to several pantheons, especially the Greek stuff. So now, he also did the introduction to Idris Shah's book. But the chapter you want to get is on page 254, 255. The Mysteries in the West and the Head of Wisdom. When we were suspected that the Knights Templars was accused of worshiping a head, sometimes called a Baphomet, and it is in the connection to an idol and probably connected to Muhammad, Hemmitt, the head which is described, but no head which could possibly be identified as one of the Baphomets could be located. They couldn't locate these particular heads that they was accusing the Knights Templar. Now, the great master C. Freeman L. teaches us that the Knights Templars was set up by the Moors. Well, you say, well, the Moors was Islamic. Knights Templars was Christians. How could the Islamic set up that? Remember now, the Moors only used Islam as a tool of conquest to go and invade Spain in the 8th century. They came in with various versions of Hebrew, which the Kabbalah was started in Spain. Moses de Leon, the first book, the Zohar, is a Moorish document. They dealt with various versions of Christianity, various versions of Islam, various versions of ancient Egyptian, East Indian, you name it. They took the science from around the world and took it up into Spain. So they set up the Knights Templar, and the word knights is another word, not for the night as far as darkness is as the night, but the night as black as the blackamoors. To be a knight was to be black. You see what I'm saying? So they set up the Knights Templar. Now, in so many words, the Knights Templar, when they set this word up, they venerated a goat. They venerated a version of the goat god Pan, which was, remember, Saturn, the black planet, Osiris, god of the perfect black. Y'all still on?
Yeah,
hello?
We got you, Bobby. We got you.
So they venerated and venerated, for those people who don't know, they raised up this symbol of the goat god Pan to honor their teachers, because the goat god Pan is after Saturn. Saturn is the black god. So Capricorn. So the goat to venerate that as the god of darkness, or Saturn, the dark planet, or what they call the black coalman. The black coalman. The Baphomet is none other than a symbol of the completed man, the black head, the Negro head, the Turk's head that appeared in the countrysides, and a crusader substitute that said cant word to find knowledge. So in so many words, they said that what they did to honor their teachers, the Moors, the blackamoors, they venerated the goat god Pan, which was the Saturn, the black planet, to commemorate the black head of their black teachers. And so the symbol of the Baphomet, which was called the Baphomet, was a symbol of the Moors, because they said that they were the perfected man. The blackamoors were the perfected man. You see what I'm saying? The Moors, the perfected man, the black man. And that is where the Baphomet comes from. Later on, this thing goes around Europe, and it is also later on in the 1950s is venerated again with Gerald Gardner, who is the father of modern witchcraft. They worship the Sabbatic goat, the black man, which is also called the green man. Osiris is a black man. He is also the green man. The green man is the god of nature. That's where the horns on the head comes from. The goat, when they showed the horns on the head, in ancient world, they were talking about the god of nature, the goat god Pan, Beth. These particular ones, when they showed the head of, with the horns on the head, they were talking about being one with nature. The horns of the head of Hathor, the cow goddess, later on, not only did she become the golden calf, the evil golden calf in Hebrew, but the cow goddess, the horns off of her head became the head on the horns of the devil, as far as the god Canaan. All that is in a book called The Devil by Jeffrey Burton Russell. The Devil by Jeffrey Burton Russell. Another one of his books is called Satan, the Early Christian Tradition. And they show how all of these particular things got turned into Satan. They took ancient iconology and turned it into Satan. But the Baphomet is none other than the Moor. And that is why all your Masonic figures and all of your Wiccan figures, they got a group in somewhere in Poland. One of their things is for their women to go on the astral plane and fuck the Baphomet so that they can go to a higher level. The Baphomet is none other, number one, all the Baphomet, Jesus, and all that's the same thing. But they're talking about ultimately the nature and the energy of the black man, and ultimately where you get the Baphomet that later on the goat god, the one that was drawn by Lippius Levi in the 1800s, that particular one that was drawn by him, I don't know if it was 1700s, 1800s, I think it was 1800s. I have to go back and check. My mind is going to blink. But that's the standard one now. And then later on, the Baphomet was drawn by H. Geiger. H. Geiger drew the book in the 1970s called the Necronomicon. And he draws the Baphomet, and he puts dreadlocks on the Baphomet. And they took those, first of all, they took his drawings and made the movie Aliens, 1979. Then they made the rest of the Alien movies based on H. Geiger's information. You still on?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. And then later on they came with the Predator with the dreadlocks. All that is from H. Geiger's Necronomicon, but he threw the Baphomet again. The Baphomet. So all your esoteric groups, they're worshiping the black man. So if Jay-Z and Beyonce is worshiping the Baphomet, I am proud for them and proud of them. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. The Baphomet is Saturn. So if you worship Jesus, you worship Saturn because Jesus is born out of Capricorn. You see what I'm saying? And Capricorn, so we're talking about astrological, but the black planet. So ultimately this thing is astrological, alchemical, astronomical. Now on the astronomical stuff, all that stuff comes from the star Sirius. Nomo, the star Sirius, which is the fish. Which is the fish. If you take the fish of Jesus and take the two ends off of the fish that the Christians is riding around, you will see what it's a vesicle, look like a football. The vesicle is nothing but the vagina. But nothing but the vagina. And let her on wash it for a couple of days and see don't it smell like fish. You see. They say we come from the sea. We come from the sea. That's why if you see in the movie the last in the last Pirates of the Caribbean, that woman Calypso in the movie, when she rose up, she had all the fish come from up under her. But that's also a form of Leviathan, and that's also a form of Jesus, the great fisherman. But Jesus is none other than Horus. None other than Horus, or Heru. And Horus comes with his brother that's on the inside of him, which is Set. There's always two twins. It's Horus Set in Egypt mythology. Another one is Khonsu, and he had a twin brother that didn't come to the physical earth. And then you have Krishna, the dark god, but he has a brother named Balarama. There's always these twin gods. They call them Arasa twins in Voodoo. It's always those. The twin god in Christianity is Jesus and Mary Magdalene. She's the dark twin, but she anoints him. So what they did here, they just changed the mythology around. You see what I'm saying? But Mary Magdalene is the twin of Jesus, and you could even say Judas is the so-called dark twin when you go into other science when it comes to when it comes to this now. So you ask the question, wait a minute, hold on. What is the Mary Magdalene being the twin? Because you got to realize if you look at the Baphomet on one side of him has breasts on one side, it's male on one side and female on the other side, and that's what they're really talking about. The Baphomet is both what is called the androgynous figure, and the androgynous figure becomes the devil. It's the androgynous figure because that's what we used to be, androgynous, until we were split in two, and now we've been constantly searching for ourselves, but what we're searching for in women is our feminine half, and what women are searching for in men is the masculine half, but it's all on the inside of us. When you reunite those things, they become the Baphomet, the perfected man. The perfected man. That's why you see the Baphomet picture, you'll see one side of his female and one side is male. If you go to India, Bishaitan, which later on is Shiva, he's both Shiva Hermaphrodite or Shiva Ardravadra, which is also both male and female. So these are the same concepts, but the Baphomet that they're worshiping is none other than the Saturn form of Jesus, or the Saturn form of Horus, which is also the Saturn, which means the black man, god of the perfect black Osiris. That particular one is none other than the Baphomet they are worshiping in Europe is the Moors. So we have the witches worshiping the Moors. The Wiccans are the biggest. The Wiccans are the biggest group, becoming one of the biggest groups in the world now. They got the fastest growing book, and they all worship the black man, the Sabbatic goat. They worship the Moors. Now I'm getting ready to do some stuff. This weekend in Alabama. I'm going to be in Birmingham again. The people interested to come to the Birmingham lecture, it's a place called Events by Lanetta. That's 2268 9th Avenue North. 2268 9th Avenue North, behind the Sheraton Hotel. That's at 3 o'clock on Saturday in Birmingham, Alabama. Again, the place is called Events by Lanetta at 2268 9th Avenue North, behind the Sheraton Hotel. That's going to be at 3 o'clock on Saturday the 17th in Birmingham, Alabama. So just rewind this and get the address and be there for the people that want to be there. You see 2268 9th Avenue North, behind the Sheraton Hotel, Birmingham, Alabama, 3 o'clock. I'm going to be talking about also when I went to Memphis, and I tapped the last blog talk I was talking about. I went to Memphis and had to go into the Lorraine Motel with Martin Luther King and tap into a vortex and free some stuff. But guess what? Guess what came out? A bunch of witches that worship the Baphomet, the black man. So all these people, the Masonic groups, all of your occult groups, they worship the true God. And in this particular case, they're following the Knights Templar, who are worshiping, who venerated or who upheld and honored the Moors, the blacker Moors, who put all these occult orders in the Western world together. In their 700 years, in the 700 years that the Moors set up the 16 universities across Europe, they gave them general education, and then when they graduated, they went into these occult orders, and all your Masonic, York Rites, Scottish Rites, all of your Rosicrucians, Knights Templars, all that stuff was started by the Moors. And these are later-day versions of what the Moors did, and all of them venerate the Baphomet. The only person they own the game is black people, because of the simple fact they gave you a religion that was tampered with to keep you from your own stuff. You see what I'm saying? So what time we got?
We got about 33 minutes left before question and answer.
Before question and answer.
Yeah,
all right.
33. Then we got 33 minutes, and then we gonna hang up. We're gonna reconnect, and it's gonna be strictly question and answer from people from around the world. Let me ask you something real quick, Bobby.
You do that. You can ask some questions. We got time. Yeah.
Saying what you said, we in the year 2010, everybody's talking about 2012. We got the Moors, we got the Hebrew Israelites saying it's their way, we got the spiritualists saying it's their way, we got the Black Panthers saying it's their way, we got this person saying it's their way. What should be the ultimate goal for black people? Is it to build another great black nation, or is it something?
No, that's not happening. That's not happening.
Please tell me.
That's not happening.
What's the ultimate goal right now?
2012, and we are in 2012. We've been in 2012. Even Delbert Blair's talking about it. Yeah. We are in 2012. I've been talking about it for years. 2012 is not a date. It's a season. We could have been in 2012 since 2001, since those buildings fell that started 2012, because you got to realize, when them buildings fell, government got on it and put everybody on lockdown with Homeland Security. So they already know that by the time they announce something to you and tell you 2012, it's already going on. So we are in a 2012 season. If you was to get to the date 2012, it's very unlikely that you're going to see anything happen. It's about like Y2K. We got the Y2K, and the lights came on and the computers came on like the next day. And at the time, The day we was up at a black college, and the guy said, I stepped in the black college, and my computer came on. Now, we all know it's a joke. If anything go wrong, it's going to go wrong at a black college, because we're going to have the least amount of maintenance and stuff to take care of some stuff. So when them computers came on at Clark Atlanta University in 1999, we knew that was the biggest hoax since the whole concept of a physical Jesus walking the earth, which is in the future. But the key here is the 2012 thing. We are in that cycle now. What's happening? Haiti is 2012. The oil spill is 2012. Now let's look at that. The earthquake hit Haiti when? January 12th, right? Mm-hmm. When did the oil spill happen? It happened on Hitler's birthday, April 20th. 12/20/2012. We are already in 2012. The events that's happening, but if they can give you a date 2 years off, you'll still be looking for that, and you'll miss all the stuff around you. We are in the 2012 cycle as we speak. You see, we're in the 2012 cycle as we speak. You see, remember now, I've been studying this government for a long time. They don't never give you nothing and announce anything if it's going to be the real thing. The people must remain ignorant at all times. So for the last 3-4 years, they've been talking on the History Channel and all this stuff about 2012. 2012. You see what I'm saying? That means, believe me, if anything that was going to go down that way, the History Channel wouldn't do it. The History Channel did a whole special, one of the most racist channels out there. They did a whole special on who discovered America. They had the Polynesians, they had the Irish, they had the Vikings, they had everybody on it. Even said the Hebrews. They had everybody, but didn't even mention the Olmec, and those are the ones that's got the proof of the black heads down in Mexico. You see what I'm saying? Didn't even mention the Olmecs. So do you know anytime they give you a 2012 and stuff like that, you better know that they're trying to give you a decoy from the time and events that's happening right in front of your face. What we are dealing with right now is a 2012 event. It's a 2012 event. You see. So that's what time that is. You see. So, they never give you...
What's the goal, though, Bobby? What's the goal?
Okay, what's the goal? What's the goal?
Yeah.
The goal here is within this season, everything that you are seeing going on from the oil spill, from Haiti, and all that is some illumination and some transformation going on the inside of us. That we are transforming into new beings. Ain't gonna be no new black nation. Are you crazy? That's insane. We can't even get along 2 minutes.
Wow.
We can't get along 2 minutes. Are you crazy? Come on. Don't you know each day go by, we become more and more mentally ill, not as black people, but as humans on this planet. But black people are worse. You see them black people are worse. Hell, how the hell are we going to have a new nation when the #1 people on food stamps now is white people ever since the meltdown? This is about transformation. You see, this is about transformation. So all those little groups out there, they've been saying that stuff for years. But come on. So the Moors saying that, but hell, they got 5, 12 different factions of the Moors fighting each other. Can't get along from damn Mars or whatever. You see. We got too many groups fighting each other. That's not going to happen because mental illness is gaining on us daily. So what does that mean? Mental illness is nothing but a breakdown of the human life wave as we go to another level. Case in point. It's called racial senility. You see old people, when they get old, they get senile. Well, that's what's happening to us. That's why stuff is going on crazier and crazier each day. It's because we are going beyond the normal human life wave to a new entity. And as a result of that, this life wave has to break down. And that's what's happening. But see, so you can hang that up. We're not doing anything. We're too gravely mentally ill to do anything like that. You see, to do anything like that.
So I mean, is the human realm going to cease to exist? Will it continue to exist?
Well, let's put it this way. Get the last Alice in Wonderland movie, the one that was done by your boy, can't think his name right now, Tim Burton. The last Alice in Wonderland movie, they had a caterpillar up in there. And at the end of the movie, they thought the caterpillar died. He transformed into what? A butterfly. That's what's happening. We're talking about a transformation. So life is what we know it will cease, but whatever is coming on going to be 100 times greater. So we're talking about transformation. It's about like everything that you would love in the first grade. If you transform overnight in the twinkling of an eye to a college student, the first grade would be almost inconceivable of what you was thinking when you was in the damn first grade. So somebody say, how would it be like? We don't know. Why? Because it's never been done before. But it's transformation. I'm quite sure a dog's concept of heaven with Alpo licking on some balls, eating some shit over here, gnawing on a bone, that's heaven to them. But if he transformed overnight into a human, that would just be right out nasty.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So this is what we're talking about here. But we're seeing greater concepts of it. Look, you saw God incarnate happen. We're talking about the devil. We saw the devil and God happen in one night. I'm talking about LeBron James, and I'm talking about doggone Cleveland. One minute that nigga was God. When that nigga announced he was going to Miami, that motherfucker became the devil.
You see
they
that?
was burning statues. They was burning pictures. That's the same shit we talking about in history. Just we've been talking all night about how one time the gods was worshipped, the next time they became the devil.
Shit.
Well, that happened that damn couple of nights ago.
Yo, Bobby, that's the perfect analogy.
It's the perfect analysis.
Yo, Bobby,
the same thing that happened to LeBron James happened to history.
Bobby, yo, Bobby, listen, that shit happened in an hour.
Within 1 hour.
That motherfucker was honored like a god, and within an hour...
He was honored like a god. One man's devil is another man's god. When that nigga went to another man's team, he became Cleveland's devil.
Damn,
so bad until a damn owner called him a coward.
Yo, that's a perfect analogy, Bobby.
That's a perfect analysis. He gave the motherfucker 7 years of his damn life. And he told him, he said, look, this ain't about the money. See, that's where they get niggas. He said, I got enough money. This is what he said. He told Larry King this, or Larry King last. I got enough money right now to set my whole family out for life. I don't, and myself for life. That's how much money I got. This ain't about money. I want to win a damn championship. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I want to win a damn championship. And he became the devil. See what I'm saying?
Damn.
That's exactly what we talking about here. One man's God is another man's devil. Greatest analogy. Don't you think that's a 2012 moment?
Damn sure is.
Look, this is when I know it was a 2012 moment. When I saw white men crying. Not in Cleveland. They had white men crying in Cleveland. They had white men crying in New York.
Yeah,
crying.
New York, yeah. Grown white men. Yeah.
I never thought I would see it. That's a Barack Obama moment there. You see what I'm saying? You see, so yeah, it's some shit. It's some stuff.
One thing I want to touch on, Bobby, just to add to what you were saying, to let the people know, to all the conspiracy theorists out there who think everything that happened is a conspiracy, I want us to move from this word conspiracy to the word synchronicity. Some things that may happen, it may not be conspiracy, but it may be synchronicity. And Albert Einstein, Carl Jung, they spoke on this. There's situations in my life where I could have said, oh, that's a conspiracy. I remember one dude, and you know, the way you learn about life is to study. The reason why the Egyptians said know thyself is because when you study your experiences, you learn from them. Not, you know what I'm saying? And one thing that happened recently, I took a picture by my DVD stand, and when I took the picture, above my head, like on the left side of my head, it said L or some shit like that. So this dude that buys DVDs for me, he was like, oh, shit, yo, you took a picture, and it said L. That means, yo, Rich the God. Yo, you the God. Oh, shit, yo, you did that shit. Da, da, da. And I'm like, nah, brother, I looked at it. I was like, I didn't even know that, brother. I said, oh, shit. So he's like, nah, you did that shit on purpose. Yo, you the God. Oh, man, you want it. And it's like, sometimes the universe just gives you symbols or gives you signs. It doesn't mean you purposely did it, or the event or the situation purposely happened. It's just when two things, it's about magnetism. When two things are alike, it's like Carl Jung called them meaningful coincidences. Mm-hmm. When two things are alike, sometimes they just happen and occur at the same time to show you that you two are magnetized toward each other. So sometimes things happen and people think it's coincidence or it's a conspiracy, but it's really not. You know what I'm saying?
Well, look at this.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at this part. You say you woke up and L was beside your name?
Yeah, I took a picture, and a store was closing down, and they blocked out the whole name except for two letters, E-L.
And but guess what?
Yeah.
You know what the word L, do you know one of the ancient names for Horus is Al and L? And we are the Heru, so in one word they were right. That was trying to show you, guess what? The only gods that's coming is ourselves. Mm-hmm. And we got to get used to that. And you had your God moment. And although, you see what I'm saying? Because the gods are now talking. The only gods are coming is ourselves. And when you woke up, you saw that L, that's exactly what it meant. And it was synchronicity. Yeah. And there are no coincidences. So they were right in a way. You see, they were right. You see, the Elohim. You see.
One thing, I want to ask you, Brother Bobby. A couple of people may come in. I talked to you about this a little earlier. A couple of people. We got about 20 minutes left before we get into question and answer from the people. Once again, we on the lines, Brother Bobby Hemmitt. Yeah. Calling number 646-727-2039. We're going to end the show. We're going to start the show over at 11 o'clock. You can call and ask Brother Bobby questions. Yeah. A couple of people have been coming by. As you know, I sold the DVDs on the street, so a lot of interaction from the people, a lot of, a lot of talk time. Yeah. They've been talking about some of them, not all of them. A couple of people have been talking about the pictures that you've been selling. And this ties into the misconception of ancient spirituality. Exactly. A lot of people have been saying that, oh, Brother Bobby's just selling fucking pictures, man. Them shits don't heal. They just pictures, man. He's selling them for money and this and that. I want you to go into the ancient
let me go exactly. I know exactly where you're coming from. First of all, it goes down to exposure. We ain't exposed to nothing. Now, right now, I don't know how many more months you got, but I'll guarantee you right now, you're going to have a whole bunch of dickheads that's going to sit on their ass, and they're going to wait till that King Tut exhibit go out of New York. And it's going to be, it's already been there for a couple of months. And you got several other months. You got about, I don't know how many months you got left. But they're going to wait sure to go and stuff like that because they don't understand the value. But if you ever, and I wish the people would have gone, maybe, hopefully it will still be there when schools start back. But I wish the people would have gone because I'm quite sure that it came there before school was out. And when you go to that King Tut exhibit, watch how many thousands of white children go to those things. And luckily, a lot of black children have to go because it being the class. And because of integration, that's the only luck we got. But the point I'm trying to make here is these people have been on a fast track for the past 150 years. 150 years. Because they are exposed to stuff. So they go to museums and they see the value in the pictures. Now, obviously the ancient Egyptians, everything that they did, you saw a pictorial view in the Metanetta, in the statues. The East Indians, Angkor Wat, the ancient Khmer people, the Vietnamese people, which is nothing but an extension of the ancient Egyptians. We have always we have always brought our spirituality with pictorial pictures and symbology. And symbology. So what I did, and I don't do nothing unless the Spirit give me the go-ahead on it. That stimulus package, see, the thing about it is this. Whenever I left the job from become a shoe designer, and I went up there, it's all on the Take Bobby at Home. And the guy had me, and I was in the money with them Jews. When I left, I never viewed making money anymore. So the first 15 years of my career after I left my shoe designer career behind, and I had an art career too. When I left all that behind, I basically worked for almost 10 years and didn't even make no money. Never would sell nothing. Never would sell nothing. Now, believe me, when the stimulus package came, those spirits told us where to go to do that stuff. The picture packet, when the picture packet came, it was like, wait a minute, hold on, man. You've been selling these pictures on the road for most of your career. And these particular pictures, and what they said, what happened? I had to go and get books. And Dr. Ben, John Henry Clark, and C. Freeman L. and different people, they know this to be true. C. Freeman L. said, I done bought a book for $100 for one picture. I had a picture of the Kabbalah on the walls of the Temple of Komombo. I showed it to Dr. Richard King, the master of melanin, in 1994. I showed him that to Richard King. Richard King told me, he said, brother, I think it was 1993. He said, brother, this picture right here you got showing the Kabbalah and the Pharaoh raising up the Kabbalah or the tree of life on the Temple of Komombo is worth $1 million. Because that means they can't front to say that it is non-Egyptian origin of the Kabbalistic, because that's where it came from. So the point I'm trying to make here is, these pictures, what I would do is some of those particular pictures, I would go and get out of books that might cost $100. And might have 2 or 3 pictures in the whole book. You see what I'm saying? And I would get those particular pictures out of these particular books. Now, to give you an example, in 1991, one of my boys was in grad school. So he got his check back from his loan. Had some money and got his check back from his loan. He said, brother, what you want? Well, I said, right now, man, I say I got a $250 book set of Egyptian engraving of the temples. I want that. So the brother bought it in 91. In 92, I took those pictures. I was working at a hamburger place. One of my boys was feeding the people chicken and stuff in the AU Center and had me to come there to interact with the students because I went there. So I was working at Stiegel's and I left the building one day and the building caught on fire. But what I had taken those temples and put them up on his wall in his store. And the whole wall burnt down and the damn pictures were sitting on the ashes. He come and said, Bobby, you got to come up and see. He said, those pictures of those Egyptian temples that you have there, all of those pictures are sitting on the ashes, but the wall is burned up behind them. Those are the same pictures that I got in the picture packet. So do you know what kind of power that shit has? That I've been, and those pictures, I've been showing those pictures, and we've been pouring libations in my lectures for years. Are you still on?
Yeah, we here, Bobby.
And we've been pouring libations in my stuff for years. So the Spirit said, if you gather those particular pictures up, you will have one of the most powerful systems going, because all our stuff is based on energy and imagery. So the people, they don't understand the power in the pictures. And the unfortunate, because you don't realize, I used to sell those pictures in the lectures for $5. I got 44 of those pictures in that packet. And ain't no thing I'm selling it, but yes.
Let me break something down real quick, because for a simple fact, I say straight up, them people full of shit. The pictures have a lot of meaning. That's why when somebody go and do voodoo on your ass, is sometimes when they got the picture, it's a wrap. Not only that, look at most of these museums where you're going, and I've been to the King Tut Museum. When you go up in there, they don't want you to have no pictures. Anything they say don't take a picture of, take a picture. Yeah, they say don't take no pictures. And if they say touch it, touch it. Anything they say don't do.
That's right. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So the point I'm trying to make, there's 44 pictures in that package. And 44, and I was selling them for $5, and people just buying 1 or 2 pictures and getting happy and stuff. And telling me, man, I put them pictures up in my house and got all kind of energy. And then
Bobby,
that's $120 for $50. You got to be crazy to say I'm ripping you off. I'm giving you $220 worth of things for $50. Let me tell you something else. Let me tell you something else. Those things come with, now they include, the only picture we got of Zarabanda. Well, I found a picture. Now that comes with that. And not only that, they come with the 7 Orishas. The 7 Orishas have transformed themselves into higher gods than what they were since 2007. And we got all 7 of the Orishas. It was done in the early 1990s. And they put them out in America, but nobody didn't buy the doggone book because it was in English. And now I had to go and get the book in Spanish to get the engravings. So the same one you got, what I talk about in my lecture, where you see Barack Obama and you see Shango, but the picture was drawn in 1992. Those are the same. We got 7 more of those particular pictures and stuff. So anybody like they say they're crazy, they don't understand about the pictures and the imagery. Right now, the imagery is what's got people messed up, because they've been seeing a goat that's not even connected with Satan all their life. And so when they see the goat now and they see it as a Baphomet, people running and getting scared like children. So don't tell me pictures don't have no powers. You see.
Bobby, they talking all that crap, but the picture of Lakshmi, I know this won't work. I got a picture of Lakshmi from you, and since I've been doing that and tapping into that energy even deeper, the stuff manifesting and it works. So they,
let me tell you something about
people
the
that
story
talk
on that.
Don't practice it. They don't practice it. They only talk it.
Exactly. Let me tell you the story on that. When we first got that Lakshmi picture, it was an artist rendering I had to get out of a small book and blow up. It wasn't until 2 years after having that artist rendering that I was able to go to Chicago and buy a book that cost me $100 from pictures from the Hemmitt Museum. The Hemmitt Museum is the place where they take pictures and hide them in a small museum in France, because if your country is black in origin and you don't want people to come to your country and see these black pictures, the Hemmitt Museum will buy these black statues from you. And used to do this stuff. And so they house all the black statues and stuff from these civilizations: Cambodia, India, Thailand, all these particular ones, Java, all these particular places, the island of Java and stuff, all these places in Asia and in China with black Buddha heads. They hide it in Hemmitt. People go to the Louvre, they don't go to the Hemmitt. I had to buy a book of the Hemmitt, and that's where I found that Lakshmi picture out of a $100 book. You know what I'm saying? So, and that picture is very powerful. That picture, since I've been selling that picture, I sold the artist rendering from 2004 to 2005, but the end of 2005, when I started selling the one that you see right there, people have received an enormous amount of cash off that one picture. Exactly. So that is, the picture packet is one of the most important things going. And I implore all of you all to get down with that. So you need to call 678-358-1055 to get your picture package, your stimulus package, and we got the DVDs and we got everything else and stuff like that. And walk you through it, and we slashing prices. You see what I'm saying?
And the people, you got to remember, Brother Bobby has over how many lectures you would say you did, Bobby?
Well over 300 lectures or more.
Brother Bobby has the whole catalog. I may have about 20, 30. This brother has the whole catalog.
Yes, I have the whole thing.
Lectures.
It's over 300 lectures. Remember, in the 90s, I was doing them twice a month, sometimes 3 times a month. And then in the 2000, I was doing them once a month. So I've been doing this for 18 years, and in 18 years, I have amassed over 300 and something lectures and going strong. So the point I'm trying to make here is, you see, so we got all that type of stuff. But we got all this stuff here, but you need to call 678-358-1055. And so what time we got right now?
We got 6 minutes left for this segment, Brother Bobby. And then after that, we're going to have to hang up these lines, and we're going to have to reconnect for question and answer.
Yes, the question and answer. Yeah.
Right.
So
Brother
now,
go ahead.
so my point here is, don't you think, first of all, this is not to convince people who are the unlearned. So certain people you're not going to convince. But they're going to have these childhood fears, and it's going to be that way. So this is not really for them. This is for the people that had these answers, that already realized that they have gone beyond religion and all this other type stuff. This is the type of stuff we're talking about that people not clear. But it's basic Christians and stuff like that. This is not for them. But what I'm trying to say here is based on this Baphomet. But Beyonce and Jay-Z is dealing with that, then God bless them. That means that finally we got somebody right on point. And for Kanye West, who was talking Jesus this and Jesus that when he first started out, if he puts on a Horus chain and all, that means he's learning. Thank goodness we got somebody learning. You see, we got somebody learning. Right. You see what I'm saying?
But Bobby, that's good. Bobby, when we have, all right, this is what the people want to know. When you have all of these, the devil worshippers, when you see these satanic devil, these white people worshiping the devil and the Satan and 666, what are they worshiping?
They are worshiping the one true God, Horus. They're worshiping the black man, and they are worshiping the same Jesus. Did Jesus rise into Jerusalem on a donkey, an ass? That ass is set on Satan. They're worshiping polarities. So you see the yin and the yang symbol. There is no evil Baphomet. There's only one Baphomet. You see what I'm saying? There's only one Baphomet. There is no such thing as no devil. The devil is only concepts of people that want to have scapegoats of their own messed up lives. Then they create this devil and say that there's this cosmic evil that's sitting out there making you do it. And the only thing that's making it do it is your own lower nature. So if you want to say there is a devil, it's just your lower nature. And some of these iconologies is just symbolic of your lower nature, but it's no ultimate absolute evil. If you take it out of this physical realm, which is an illusion, and go out into the cosmic realm, then they'll look at black holes and say that's evil. You see what I'm saying? Dark matter is evil. So, but then you ask the question, why would they call that evil? Or is the evil they talk about another language that's talking about powerful? You see what I'm saying? So this whole thing about the devil worship and all this type of thing, let me tell you something. They killed 9 million witches in Europe. Most of them, 98% of them was Christians. And the only thing they had to do to kill these people is call them witches. And they killed 9 million witches. Their story parallels ours as slaves. So on the same time, around the late 1400s and 1500s, when we started going into slave, the witch hunts came, and they killed 9 million of them. You see what I'm saying? Yes.
Let me ask you real quick before the time goes. With this whole thing, you was building on set. You was building on set, and you was flowing. Are you familiar with this white lady who was an interpreter? Because some people say that had to be fake, and why would Seth, who's this white lady, to be a channeler? She was a channeler years ago.
Seth.
You know about her?
Yeah, Seth material. Yeah, the Seth
you
material.
You could give a breakdown on that, like any...
Well, she just channeled an entity, a Seth entity. It might have been a form of Seth or Seth. You got to realize that this is interesting here, because, Seth becomes the third son of Adam. Ain't that a baby? They say that the Set of old of the ancient Egyptians, and even called the devil by some parts of the ancient Egyptians, that same Set lives on and outlives all of the pantheon in Egypt, because he becomes the third son of Adam.
So what is the breakdown with him being the hippo?
Huh?
The hippo.
Well, see,
at the museum they had him as the hippo.
No, all gods are connected with their mother. The hippopotamus is Set's mother, Tiamat, Tawaret. So her name is Tawaret, Later on, Typhon, and that's the hippopotamus god, also called Apit. That's his mother. If you go to the zodiac of Dendera, which is the temple of Dendera, now hangs at the Louvre in Paris, the round zodiac, in the middle of that zodiac of every part of the cosmos and every god goes down to a hippopotamus and a little dog. That dog is Set. Later on, that dog figure becomes Anubis and all, but that little dog is Set, and her mother is the hippopotamus. It's right there in the zodiac of Dendera, which is one of the pictures I got in the picture packet. The temple of Dendera and the zodiac of Dendera.
Brother Bobby,
yes.
I don't mean to cut you off. Time speeds by when you learning something. We gotta disconnect right now, yo. We're gonna reconnect in 20 seconds. That's just the way it is on Blog Talk Radio. I'm only allowed 2 hours of show, so we're gonna disconnect. Everybody that's on the lines who has a question, call back, or we're gonna reopen up the chat room, and I'll see you in 5 seconds. Peace.
Peace.